God. Oh my God, I had it again. I didn't have my mic on. I'm terribly sorry about that, folks. Let's go back through the beginning. This is the nap where we cover the non-answer period, or as we like to call it, the question period, or as that's what they call it because we never get an answer, where we cover a lot of the half-wittery and a lot of the liberal mishaps that are happening to Canada because of their policies and legislation. There's plenty to cover. In fact, there's so many to cover, we can never get to all of it before question period actually starts, even though we scheduled to start 45 minutes prior. And before we get into what you're seeing on the screen right there, please like to remind everybody to please like, share, subscribe, and follow. Whatever platform you're on, we're broadcasting on X, we are broadcasting on Rumble, and we're also broadcasting on Commie2, which is our backup channel. If you're unaware with this story of what is happening here with these ostriches out in BC, let us give you a quick recap. Back in December of last year, the herd was attacked with some kind of avian flu. It knocked out close to a fifth of the herd. The rest of them survived, obviously getting some antibodies. CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, came around and tested two dead carcasses, did an anal swab using the polychain reaction test, also known as a PCR test, also the very questionable test that was used during the COVIDity stupidity, because as we know, you just keep running the test over and over and over again until you get the result that you want. In fact, because the creator of the polychain reaction test even said that you should not be using this to test for COVIDity stupidity, but they went and did it anyway and used it to do a lot of their very nasty mandates that we have to all go through. So this is all connected with this because for some reason now these ostriches have all these antibodies, and a lot of people are interested in where these antibodies are coming from. I believe there's a Japanese medical firm, and of course, now the United States is very interested in this. RFK Jr. has expressed some interest, and some other rather interesting, important elitist people down south of the border because they know what this could actually present, and that is why they probably want to kill these birds because a big farmer cannot have all these big beautiful birds producing all these antibodies in these eggs. And the other part is that CFIA applying poultry laws to these giant raptors is completely illogical. Let's go on to the next part. The remaining herd that did survive, not a single one has been tested yet. But yet the CFIA wants to destroy every single bird because they believe that it is a threat. Why? Because they have adapted this globalist attitude that is being pushed forward by the World Health Organization and by other UN agencies that if the only way to deal with disease is to stamp out the entire herd. That's right. Kill them all. Destroy them all. Kill them all. Kill them all until there's no more disease. Imagine if we treated humanity that way. Oh, that person's got a flu. Let's kill them before somebody else gets a flu. That's basically their approach. Obviously, not the same thing, but you have to understand this makes no sense at all. How do flocks, herds, animals, how have they evolved on this planet the entire time? Survival of the fittest. How do they do that? If they're exposed to new diseases, they build up antibodies, they get immune to it, and they carry on. That's how fauna works on this planet, and that is how we have been dealing with domesticated animals for thousands of years. But now, all of a sudden, these people that come along because they want to push all kinds of drugs and other treatments necessary by big pharma that probably aren't needed. Now, mind you, veterinarians and farmers work in conjunction with each other quite a bit. Look at the size of this herd. So they won't test the birds. In fact, they will fine anybody who tests the birds $20,000, or is it $10,000? Doesn't matter. It's stupid. They're going to find you, and not only find you, they're going to throw you in jail for 6 months. That's right. Every time that this has been appealed to the courts by the farm, they have not been able to present a single stretch of evidence. The courts have always deferred to the CFIA, and the CFIA has never had to present evidence that the herd is actually diseased. They're just doing it imminent. Now, what has happened over the past couple of days? The first rental truck, rental agency that was being used to ferry the materials to do the cull. Once they found out, once the owner started getting some emails and some phone calls, he's like, I don't want to be involved with this death, with this bloody death, this massacre, this worthless destruction of somebody's life. So you're talking about decades. These birds are expensive. These birds live for a long time. You cannot just replace a herd like this. So he didn't want any part of it. So of course, the RCMP went out and CFIA went out and they found themselves another agency. And of course, they got contacted as well. And they turned around and said, what is going on? I do not want this blood on my hands. Get your stuff off my trucks. $400,000 contract. Gone. Why? Because they're doing the right thing. Unlike all these other RCMP officers that are standing around going, oh, we're just doing our job, we're just following orders. Just following orders. Where have we heard that before? Oh, yes. Some of us who actually still read history and learned history in school, unless, of course, you're being given revisionist cultural Marxist history, where they, for some reason, tell you that people on the right side of the political spectrum were actually National Socialists, when in fact it was people on the left because it's socialism, National Socialism, right? Anyway, so that's how they're acting. Now, of course, um, the cops don't know what to do, right? So let's go to our first little story here. So what were they doing last night? They were terrorizing the birds with drones.
See what happens when all the police drones are flying so low. Go away! The police drones are flying so low. They're putting our birds through fences. You want to talk humane? Here's our girl. She just went through a fence, got stuck. She's don't know if she can get up. They're causing these animals to kill themselves. They're going through fences. They're hitting fence posts because their drones are flying so low. Do you see this? This is life. This is humane. These are healthy animals that are suffering. See what happens when.
So the RCMP is not beyond animal cruelty to get their way, to follow their orders. So what's the next thing they're going to do? Well, here's a ex post by Viva Frey from a couple hours ago. I'm told that the Holiday Inn in Vernon, British Columbia, has told the RCMP they are no longer welcome there. Booyah, he says. Well, there you go. The community is getting more and more together, right? Now the Holiday Inn, it says, get your Gestapo arses out of our bedrooms. We don't want your bloody mayhem, your evil intentions, because they don't want the bad publicity. If people find out that Holiday Inn has been housing the RCMP for culling that big, beautiful, healthy herd for no reason, oh, yeah, there's a lot of businesses in the area that are saying, get your RCMP butt off my property. We do not want to be associated with you because of what you are doing. This is a this is a disaster for the RCMP. PR disaster, big time. So I'm also told that Sunbelt Rentals demanded their rentals back from the RCMP. So that was the next one that I was telling you about, where that's a $400,000 contract they got rid of. Gentle reminder to voice their opposition to the inspection can and at CFIA, right? Contact. A lot of people have been contacting them. No avail. Nobody gets a response from them. They are bureaucracy. It's like if you've watched, you ever watched the movie The Castle, which was written by Kafka? And what they don't tell you is as you're watching the movie comes to an end right in the middle because Kafka died writing the book. And it just takes you through this bureaucratic nightmare of never getting any answers, always getting the runaround. And this person always acquiescing to say, oh, the poor little bureaucratic slave is moving from one department to the next. And that is the only thing that people will be exposed to if they try to deal with the CFIA. Now, he says here also either Polyev is aware of the situation and saying nothing, or unaware of the situation. Neither is acceptable. It's true. They had all last week and yesterday to mention this in question period. Nothing. Not once, not even one mention. Like the entire day. Even a statement by a member. They had all freaking day, each day, last week, all day yesterday, so far today, nothing. I left a message on his phone. Be very polite, be kind. I use my name. It's a disaster. The fact that they are so quiet on this. And it's not just this herd that they are going to destroy. Once they do this, they can do this to any herd, any animal. You think it's just farmers they're going to go after? I think it's just municipality is going to look at this and go, hey, you know what? I think there's some weird cat flu going on. I think we need to kill all the cats in town now. I'm telling you, these people do not work in small bites. They work in big bites. Big freaking communist bites. So now, of course, here's the worst part. Here's Ray Humphrey, who's on the ground, and she reports that first live of today, RCMP told ostrich farmers that they need to leave the pens. Why? They say the state will be feeding the birds from here on out, and if they don't leave, they will be arrested. Do you, what as hell is happening in Canada? They're going to feed them? The very people that have been tasked to kill the birds are saying, trust me, out of the pen or we arrest you so we can feed the birds. Yeah, we're going to feed the birds. No problem. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Okay. So we're waiting to see what's going to happen next now because they're literally getting ready to physically remove the farmers from next to the animals. Even after all this, even after contract keeps breaking with the RCMP because they don't want to be involved with it, with the local community kicking them out of the hotel because they don't want to be involved with this. They're telling them this is evil. And I've been watching some of the live feed, and they're standing right there with a little plastic police tape between them and the police, constantly telling them, right? What are you going to tell your grandkids? What are you going to tell your kids? Why don't you take out the picture of your kids and look at them and tell them, what are you going to tell them? What you did today, what you're trying to do right now to massacre, and constantly reminding them that these actions are evil, that just following orders for orders' sake is evil, absolutely evil. The RCMP, in this point, is just performing once again like the political bully boys that they have been repeatedly known to do in the past. Hey, everybody, remember the Red River flood out in Alberta when the RCMP were decided that they were just going to go around from house to house because they had apparently the last gun registration list that they were supposed to destroy, but they kept instead, right? Because they're always like that. They're always breaking the law because the RCMP answers to no one except their political masters. So they're going around from house to house, booting the doors open, going and confiscating guns illegally. That's the kind of people we have in the RCMP, and I doubt it's gotten any better because the RCMP is also having quite the recruiting issue, just like the military. I think they're suffering about the same amount of losses, about 10%, because they're seeing what's happening. A lot of the good cops are just leaving, and who's left behind? These follow the orders, Gestapo-like, evil, soulless, corruptible henchmen of the political regime. What's next on the story? Ah, yes. CBC Watcher. Taking questions at the Council of Foreign Relations, Carney admits Canadian troops to a Hamas disarmament and elimination in Palestine. He says the disarmament and elimination of Hamas as a force, certainly as a political force, military force first, and political force is one of the conditions for sustained cessation of hostilities and peace, to which Canada would be party if there were to come to pass for multinational forces to be deployed in Palestine to enforce a peace and to drive that process forward. A lot of words. None of it makes any freaking sense. We don't have the capacity to do that in Canada. I was watching a defense committee, and they were banning about numbers that were in Latvia, right? And because there was an MP that visited, and right during the committee, she herself admitted, "Oh, I don't think there was like just around 2,000 or so, right?" And then they wanted to know how many people were there. And then, of course, the general never really answered the question. The general skirted around. It was a major general that was sitting in the council, and he just stated what the mission numbers are slated. Right? He never said that they weren't meeting the numbers. He never actually gave them the actual numbers. Well, we know from last year they were struggling to meet 1,600 for Latvia, which is supposed to be 2,200. So I don't know if they've been able to increase the numbers overseas, but even with that commitment that it cannot support on their own, and the people that are doing that rotation, I bet you they're probably starting to burn out now. After 3 rotations, that's it. You're toast. You got to take a couple of years off. You can't keep burning out your people. But, you know, liberals don't care about Canadians or their health because for them it's an ethical and moral issue for them because for them their morals is that they have no morals because you have to have no morals in order to enact a lot of the things that they have done in Canada and to be these kind of people. The kind of people that reward terrorism by arbitrarily, on behalf of Canada, saying that they are going to recognize a Palestinian state. So, what do we have here? Ah, yes. Wasn't able to get to this video on Friday. Didn't get to this video yesterday. This is an important video. Now, Larry Brock, MP, Conservative Party of Canada, has often said, jail, not bail. And we understand. We need to get these criminals off the street. But the problem is, our prisons are a disaster, like every other government institution in Canada. The Liberals have completely destroyed the military, the RCMP, Republic Service, CBSA, with their political interference and their ideological compromising of ethics and morals in each of the departments with the institution of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is legalized racism. No, sorry, not racism, bigotry, because it always makes some people more equal than others. Right? And it also creates an issue at work whereby people are always off put. It doesn't keep them mentally stable. It makes them fear that they're going to say something wrong all the time. That's not the kind of work environment that you want. And it's even worse in a bloody prison where PTSD is probably common for every single person that works there because you're dealing with every single worst person in the country that they are throwing in there. And what do? You build a jail in the late 70s and then you don't spend the dime refurbishing it for decades. And then when I come along about, what, 8 years ago, and I do a little tour of the jail because I knew somebody there, and it was like walking into a time capsule. Everything, the registers, the windows, floor tiles, the ceiling tiles, the paint color. Wow. Time warp. I bet you every jail is like that. Now, I'm not saying jails have to be nice, but they have to be nice enough for the people who work in them to be treated like human beings so that they in turn can treat their prisoners like human beings so that when they come out of their incarceration, they're not worse off. Because what they're going to tell you right here in this video is endemic and has gotten worse. Now, you think the drugs are bad on the street? Ha! Listen to this.
Anyone saw what we just saw, I don't know how you'd walk away from there and not think, like, what is going on here is, well, you're right, there isn't words for it. I don't even know, like, it's insane.
We're a little bit in shock. I don't think I know the general public doesn't know what's going on inside prisons and how it's changed so drastically in the last 10 years. The deputy warden told me that they have calculated that organized crime is already this year has made $1 million just on this prison alone from dealing drugs inside. Some of the correctional officers were saying they were coming out, like they weren't even drug addicts before they went in and they're coming out addicts.
Right, yeah. I know.
I'm in Drumheller. I was invited out here for a couple of different events, one of which was touring a correctional facility, medium and minimum security prison in Drumheller. And I got to do it with one of my great friends, former colleagues, Blake Richards, member of parliament for, what's your riding now?
Airdrie Cochrane.
That's the prison there right behind us. This is actually, I know the guy who's riding this is. What's his name again?
There's a guy named Pierre Poilievre.
Pierre Poilievre, I've heard of him.
Canadians have heard of him.
Heard of that guy.
Likely going to be our next prime minister, I believe.
We obviously couldn't take our phones when we went in. But when you went into this, it's called an OPS, so an overdose prevention site. It's basically the same as the drug dens that are out on the streets. So you have a chair, you have a mirror, you shoot up, but you're not allowed.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
And like, the whole point is like, half these people, exactly what Blake just said, are criminals because drugs makes them criminals. And there's people preying on innocent people inside the prison system because they know they're addicts, they're selling them drugs, and it's actually heartbreaking, if I'm going to be honest. Like, it's not, and the correctional officers are having more and more moral injuries, psychological injuries. The incidence of violence has skyrocketed because of the drugs. The overdoses are back up. Everything is just, it all comes back to drugs. Everything.
And they're giving them to them in prison.
Giving them. Your tax dollars are giving prisoners drugs. I said, does nobody raise their hand and say, this is stupid? Like, this is insane? Like, why are we doing this? And it's such an abuse of power. The one guy told me, he said, Michelle.
So it's important to know, right? I wonder if what she just said there has actually been brought up in Parliament, right? About this specific thing. But you know, when it wasn't brought up so far in the last 6 days, since they've returned in a fall session, it was never brought up in question period. There are several things that were brought up in question period, but there were also a few things that were brought up several times. So maybe instead of bringing up those same things up several times, maybe just once, just bring this up once, right? You have thousands of examples like this of liberal half-wittery destroying Canada with their policies that you could be mentioning in question period, every single question period, instead of asking the same question 4 times, 5 times in French, in English. Come on, come on. I know you have a lot on your plate, but if one of your aides happens to come across this, could you please, for the love of God, you've got one small window throughout the entire day that somebody might pay attention because they're not going to be sitting down and watching committees. That's only for political nerds like me. They're not going to be just going sitting down and watching Parliament during the day because, again, that's not what most Canadians do. The only time they're going to pay attention for a little bit is going to be the news, the mainstream media that's controlled by the liberals, where they do a little piece on question period, maybe, right? But usually only if it's outlandish and something that gains a lot of attention. And I can guarantee you this would gain a lot of attention.
The top doctor by Correctional Services Canada was, he makes the decisions, and he said, this is what we need to do for inmates. We need to make sure they have access to use drugs. That's there's no words like other than
It it makes complete sense that you would have a doctor saying that on behalf of the liberals and all the other controlled institutions in Canada. Ever since the COVIDity stupidity came around, the medical boards in each of the provinces are still kowtowing to whatever dark designs are telling them to force their doctors to comply with. Right? These medical boards are the same ones that are responsible for what a lot is going on, like in Alberta, where they're still trying to outlaw ivermectin. A lot of these medical boards that decided that certain doctors, if they questioned the mRNA gene therapy, they were no longer could be doctors anymore, and so they started removing their licenses. So, of course, if you have that kind of power, do you not think that they are going to also enforce the liberals' social justice ideological narrative all throughout society as far as they can? Oh, wait a minute. What other group of doctors in history actively worked with the government to push the ideology? Let me think. Could they have been in Deutschland in the 1930s? Let's finish this piece.
and this has got to stop. Like, what is the point where we kind of go, okay? But I think part of it is people don't know.
That's it. That's exactly it. I mean, it's to think that this is where people are coming to get rehabilitated, and I don't think they're going to learn anything there other than how to do more crime. And they're certainly not want to get off drugs when everything that they need to do drugs is given to them right there in the prison.
It comes from a place of belief and ideology that victims, everybody's a victim, and there's no accountability. That's the biggest thing we heard over and over again from the correctional officers. There's no accountability. Everybody's a victim. It's not their fault. And just give them more of the thing that hurts them. Give them more of the thing that makes them commit crime. And that's what we see on the street too. And it's a belief system. And it goes into policy. Like, belief systems build policy.
Right, let's move to the next story. No, stop that. Stop. What the hell's going on?
Retail.
Sorry about that, folks. Not all of us can have the best equipment on the planet. All right, so here we have this next post here by Holly Doan. Feds, ISCED.C_CA, that's Canada, Feds, say they need private consultants help in managing a fundamental rethink of relations with US. Now, this is an ongoing story. This is a little over September 7th and 19th. But we knew about this from before. This is all the hiring consultants. We heard about this story also, where they had to hire a politician from the States, tell them how to talk to Americans. These people are morons, right? So they have a department of 6,168 employees and access to fully staffed Canadian trade offices in 15 American cities, but still they needed private consultants. That's how the liberals push their weight around. That's how the liberals do everything, by the way, is spending other people's money. And that way, if they need a favor from a friend, well, they just hire them as a consultant. It's really hard to, but it doesn't really matter anyway. They spend all kinds of money and never gets the receipts anyway. It's brought up continually, like you guys need to show us the proof, and they never do it. It got to a head last year in June 2024 when the Speaker of the House said you can't do any more business in the lower house because you won't unredact the papers that you were told to provide. And that was the old SDTC document thing. Now, of course, they're bringing that back up. A new mighty Ogo. I wonder if they'll be doing that today. Sometime soon they will be bringing it up and are going to have enough people in that committee to do it. And they better do this soon because if they staff these papers again, well, they are going to have to produce them. And if they don't produce them, well, we will see if the current liberal speakers will enact the same ruling as the speaker did back in June of 2024 if they don't produce them. All right, next. Yes. Let's have a listen to this.
The Public Health Agency of Canada has quietly admitted what lockdown critics warned about all along, that the COVID overreaction left Canadians in a mental health crisis. According to the agency's latest survey, a staggering 23% of Canadians screened positive for anxiety, depression, or both, and 8% screened positive for post-traumatic stress disorder. These aren't a minor blip. They're signs of a population still reeling years after the World Health Organization downgraded COVID from a global threat to an ongoing.
Now, I recommend you go to Rebel News, watch the whole video themselves. But it's not just PTSD. There's a lot of people out there with moral injuries, right? Because they believed that their government was smart enough not to put out a fraudulent injection that would harm and kill people. And then be told that, if you don't take it, you're going to become a second-class citizen. They used every trick in a book to intimidate and coerce people in clear violation of the Nuremberg Code of Ethics. Now, a lot of people say, well, that law doesn't apply to Canada. Okay, you want to go down that route? Sure, you can go down that route, but you have to remember, why was the Nuremberg Code of Ethics created in the first place? It was because the Nazis were acting things like experimenting on human beings with medical treatments to see which one worked. So what happened in Canada is that you were coerced into taking this experimental injection, and people will say, "Oh, it wasn't experimental. There was 20 years of research, blah, blah." It doesn't matter. You can say all you want, but when it comes down to human trials, a 90-day human trial is not a real human trial. And even then, we found out that some of those trials were completely bunk because they went and injected the placebo group at the end of it. So, and then of course, every issuance that the item was safe that Health Canada did, there's no proof that it was safe. You cannot go back to a document that shows them that it was safe. It always comes back to some bureaucrat making a decision based on hopes and feelings. It feels good. It feels good, if you go and get this. Right? And then for the same reason, when as soon as the signals that we could see on the ground with people dropping after taking it, obvious signals, right? We had a history in the past that if more than 50 people died from taking a vaccine, that a vaccine was canceled. Obviously, it's dangerous, right? But no, this one we just kept going. Keep moving along, safe and effective, right? And the signals were ignored by PHAC. PHAC purposefully ignored the signals of people getting injured and people dying because it might increase vaccine hesitancy, right? We don't want people stop taking what's killing them. So there's, and nobody's answered for this. And then, of course, we had the Vaccine Injury Support Program fiasco, which has now been providing injury support, where it went to some friends of the Liberals who pocketed the money, let their staff party all week, and process very few claims. And now Public Health Canada, the same people who coerced Canadians to take it, is now back in charge of providing help to the people that they forced to take it. Yeah, you want to talk about moral injuries? Every single one of us that see this, that saw this, that lived through it, that had to watch our people in positions of authority become abusers. And if you pointed out that they were violating the Nuremberg Code of Ethics, they would dismiss it. They would call you far right. Yeah, there's a lot of things that need to be answered about this injection. And the left doesn't want to talk about it. They want to leave it in the past. Why do you keep bringing it up? Why can't you just leave it in the past? It needed to be done. Yeah, sure, it needed to be done. I'm just Zebeka. I know nothing about the ovens. Let's move on to the next story. Garrett Jennis, CPC member, fertility rates have dropped precipitously since 2015. Indeed. Why is that? Well, typically when people live in Western societies, and Western society is good, right? They tend to have fewer children. But then we go back all the way to when they, you know, feminism was developed to get women into the workplace, and then right away after that, women started having less children. It's a biological imperative. We cannot get away from this. It's the only way to propagate the species. Everybody has their role to play. And obviously, since the man doesn't carry the baby, that means that the man has to carry most of the work while the woman is having a baby. That's just basic genetics and science. And I'm sorry if some social patterns of society don't agree with that, but that's how your society will continue to exist. If you're not having babies, your society is going to die. Your culture is going to die. Your language is going to die, along with everyone else that passes away because you haven't bred any replacements. So, what are we doing in Canada? We're just doing massive importation of other people who don't think like us, who don't have the same morals, the same ethics, the same language, or the same culture. And it's going at a very rapid pace. As mentioned before, that Canadians have been fleeing Canada since the Liberals came in because they knew that they were going to do what they have done for the past 10 years and they have taken their wealth with them. And in 2020, that number doubled. And now Canada has seen so much wealth flee that the GDP is the worst out of all the G7s. Well, Luxembourg might be worse. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Do we have to say Luxembourg is worse than us just to feel better? Because there is a widening gap between the number of children families want and the number of children families feel they can afford. You think? That has always been the reality for most people, except for those who just roll the dice and say, well, I'm going to let God handle everything. And then they just grow up with a whole brood. And those people are usually the happiest around. Policies that put jobs and homes out of reach are forcing delayed family formation and leading to fewer kids, which is what they wanted the entire time, right? They don't want Canadians owning a part of Canada. They want to own all of Canada. And you must rebuild an economy where it is easier for people to have kids. And it's true. Not only should it be easier to have kids, it should be easier for those kids to get involved in society and get a job as soon as they're capable. I'm just thinking all the way back when I was 13 years old and I really wanted to work. I really wanted a job. I really wanted to make some money as a kid. I just want to, but the law said you couldn't work till you were 16. Damn Western society. Taking care of his children. All right, so I hope I can find this. Ah, yes, there it is right there. So we have Carnegenis stating the very obvious thing that the biological imperative is required in order for society to survive. But then there's always one in the group that comments, right? And I had to bring this up. What a disgusting take. People choose to have or not have children for the many reasons finances are a small percentage. Women are not baby factories for tons. Meh. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, all women are baby factories. That's what you were genetically designed to be when you came out of your mother's birthing canal, right? The men were made not to have babies, the women were made to have babies. Now, whether you choose to have a baby or not, that's up to you. But apparently, you think they want you to be a baby factory? Oh, I don't think you understand morals and ethics at all. At all. But that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing with these feminists, right? They think the conservatives want to control their bodies. When in fact, the conservatives are just telling them a truth to their face. If you don't have babies, you're not going to have a Canada and you're not going to have people to take care of you when you're older. As a matter of fact, too late. It's already there. If you go to a nursing home, are you going to find very many white people in there helping you out? Or people who were born and raised in Canada? Because I'm telling you, that's not the story I was getting from an elderly relative over Christmas. Let's go a quick look at Parleview and see what they are up to. Because we are coming up closer on the time for the. Why is this not refreshing? We're almost there on question period, or as we like to call it, the nap. I think we're having some issues here. You know what? Let's just go right back in to Parleview. And while we're doing that, while Parleview is loading, let's go back over here and I want to show you this other site here for the Parliament of Canada. Every Canadian who's interested in politics, who's concerned about what is happening federally, or you could be because, if you've been here since 2015, you've probably seen how far Canada has fallen. Well, this is your resource to find out what's going on. Who's saying what about what bills are being produced, who's put them forward, right? And what interventions they are doing. Every single member. But most Canadians don't care about politics. They only care when it affects them at the end, and by then it's too late because they didn't get involved. Let's go back to Parleview. Let's go to the House of Commons sitting. And that looks a lot like the statement stance. Oh, God. Well, I see frilly shoulder pads or padless shoulders are back in style. I think I saw another MP yesterday. My former MP, actually, from the Ottawa Valley, the North Ottawa Valley, Renfrew County area, Cheryl Gallant. And, if there was an MP that probably should have stepped aside to let them take their seat. Members, are we done? No, we're still statementing. Statementing. I just made up that word. Well, while we're waiting for them, let's go on to the next story. We had Garnet, and now we have, yes, the JCCF. Now, this is a good reminder here. In his video, John Carpe provides a summary of the new Justice Center report post-COVID Canada, the rise in unexpected deaths. So as we were mentioning earlier about the COVID stupidity, new stuff keeps coming out every day. And no one has taken responsibility for anything. No one. And that's probably the most aggravating thing. And while we keep pointing to these past crimes and all the misery and the deaths and how the system has failed all the people that they have injured, every single day, they keep doing something else to try to distract from their last crisis or their last ethics violation. I mean, just look at what they did over the weekend, right? The Palestinian statehood, trying to get rid of a notwithstanding clause, creating a constitutional crisis, right? So they got everybody upset. for supporting terrorists, create a constitutional crisis, and bring in some hate legislation that you can arrest people without warrant and then throw them in jail for 14 years for saying something that might offend somebody else. That's it. Words, hurdy words, just like you see it in the UK, right? Where they have over 12,000 people a year arrested, thrown in jail for saying things that the government disagrees with on social media. That's what's coming to Canada. That's what these liberal, totalitarian, authoritarian monsters want to do to Canada. Total control, right? Because they tried getting control by controlling the mainstream media through all their past legislation, where all the money is stripped from all the different digital formats and then they redistributed back over to the people that they agree with, that are the media. They're the ones that they choose who should be reporting on the government. If they don't like the way they're reporting, well, when your next subsidies renewal is coming up, maybe you won't get those subsidies. Maybe that close to 30 grand a year that you're getting for each reporter on your staff, or sorry, I should say for each staff member in your company that's helping you stay alive, maybe that's going to vanish. Yeah, that's how much money Canadians are paying those reporters out there, especially the ones that you don't like what they write. Imagine if you could just pay for the media that you like as opposed to the government deciding which media you have to pay for so that they have to beam that message into your brain and into the brains of everyone else that you can't seem to get through because they believe these messages being beamed into their brains that makes them completely disregard every other violent aspect that comes out of their policies. For some reason, it makes them just forget the past 10 years. Makes them forget that there's over 76,000 people that died waiting to get medical help on a list because Canada's medical system has been completely destroyed through mass immigration. That's not the immigrants' fault. It's these guys' fault. This guy right here on the screen, this liberal and all his other liberal friends. And it doesn't matter if they say, oh, I wasn't an MP at the time when that happened. Doesn't matter, buddy. You're part of the problem. You joined the same party, the same ideology that keeps pushing death, the same death cult that is going after those birds just because you have to. Everything is about control. Just released another video before this live stream where uh, MP from the Conservative side has put forth a bill today to try to deal with the massive amount of sexual violence that is happening in Canada. And it's not just sexual violence against women, it's sexual violence against children. You know, was it? I think sexual violence against women was only up by 50%. Only 50%. Yeah, it's only 50%. Yeah, it's not like it's 100%, right? No, but sexual violence against children up 120%. 120%. Now, yesterday, the Conservatives tried to do something about violence in Canada, and every other party voted against it or released a video. Just like they are probably going to vote against Bill C-246, presented to try to stop this sexual violence. And all really, I mean, there's a lot of things in the bill, but specifically, instead of serving concurrent sentences, they want them to serve consecutive sentences. Yeah, so, the rape, the murder, the theft, all these other crimes that they tap onto each other, they all serve them at the same time, right? And then they're on bail after a couple of years. That's not what they want. Oh, look, it's my own MP. What the hell is he saying?
In 1925, as a seasonal cannery in Prince Edward County, the company has grown through 5 generations into the only remaining cannery in the region. From preserving local vegetables and producing soups now found on shelves across Canada, Sprague Foods has stayed true to simple, natural ingredients while adapting to changing markets. In a time when buying Canadian-made products is more important than ever, Sprague Foods is a key partner in supporting our local economy with good jobs and food security. So on behalf of myself and this entire House, congratulations to Sprague Foods on the past century and cheers to 100 more. Yeah. And Mr. Speaker, I would also like to acknowledge the Canadian Armed Forces we have here today for Army Appreciation Day. Thank you for all your service.
Oral questions.
Oh, good. The questions are starting. Because I was just about to tell Chris to go. And it's best I do.
Oral questions, questions orales. The honourable leader of the opposition.
It's the best part of the show.
Monsieur le Président, je dois avouer, j'ai jamais vu ça. Lundi, un ministre dit que son programme va pas fonctionner dans un enregistrement. Mardi, il annonce qu'il va aller de l'avant avec ce programme. Il avait raison dans l'enregistrement. C'est un gaspillage de 700 millions de dollars enlevés de nos forces frontalières et policières pour poursuivre des chasseurs et tireurs sportifs, ce qui va mettre en danger la vie des Canadiens.
That's okay,
Quand
Pierre.
le Premier ministre va-t-il congédier ce ministre?
The RCMP out in BC don't need the $700 million he's going to use for that to kill those birds.
Mr. Speaker. Let me just take this opportunity to talk about the compensation program that we launched today. The pilot will take place in Cape Breton. There are roughly, yes, I want to thank the colleagues from Cape Breton for their support, but I also want to thank the police chief, as well as those who are going to step forward and apply for the rebate, Mr. Speaker. This is smart policy. We're moving forward on it, and I fully believe that we will be able to implement this throughout the country over the next year.
The honourable leader of the opposition.
The gaslighting is off the
Dans
scale.
son enregistrement, Monsieur le Président, il a admis que la saisie de 750 millions de dollars d'armes ne fonctionnera pas. Il a même proposé de payer la caution de son locataire pour le faire sortir de prison. Il a rompu la promesse libérale d'engager 1000 agents frontaliers, en même temps que 80% des crimes avec armes à feu passent par la frontière illégalement. Il a perdu 600 criminels dangereux de l'étranger dans nos rues et ignore même ce que c'est quoi une arme, un permis d'arme à feu. Il est incapable de protéger les Canadiens. À quand le Premier ministre va-t-il le congédier?
So Pierre's speaking French because Gary doesn't speak French. And they're pushing this gun ban for Quebec, so he needs to speak French.
We could do both, Mr. Speaker. We can ensure that guns are off our streets by ensuring that people who are able to turn in their firearms are able to get compensated for those prohibited weapons. That is what we're doing with the launch of our gun buyback program today. We will continue to make smart criminal justice reforms to ensure that criminals are off our streets. And
We know the truth. You're not going to pay people the full price of their property.
The honourable leader of the opposition.
Lying bunch of
Mr.
scumbags.
Speaker, in all my years here, I've not seen this before. On Monday, a minister says that his program won't work. On Tuesday, he says he's going ahead with the program, a program that will take $750 million away from frontline border and police services to go after Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle, a waste of money that police say they won't implement and that the minister was caught on recording saying they will never implement. He even promised to fire this minister.
Oh no, there he's a number one guy.
If Grandpa Joe is using AR-15s to go hunting, I think we have to have a much more serious conversation about hunting. What we're going forward,
What?
Mr.
Is this
Speaker,
guy a moron?
2,500 prohibited weapons.
Grandpa does use an AR-15.
That are killing people around the world, including those in mass casualty incidents in Canada, Mr. Speaker. If the leader of the opposition wants to have a real conversation about crime, he also has to have a real conversation about guns, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable leader of the opposition.
The proof is in the pudding.
Mr. Speaker, that minister
Law-abiding
did have a
citizens
real
don't commit
conversation
crimes
about guns.
with
He
the
was
guns.
caught on tape admitting that his program won't work because it will go after legitimate hunters and sport shooters rather than after the 80% of guns that are used in crime which come illegally across the border. He admits that his $750 million program won't work. He offered to bail his tenant out of jail if he breaks the rules. He lost track of 6,000 foreign criminals in our country. He admits he doesn't know what a gun license is. More than half of Canadians don't feel safe under his watch. Will the Prime Minister do the only thing that will secure our country and fire this incompetent minister?
The honourable minister.
It'd be nice to know who was yammering on the other side of the aisle there the whole time.
Mr. Speaker, you can't be
serious about public safety, if you're not serious about gun crime. My honourable colleague on the other side of the House raises concerns about the illegal flow of guns across the border. When he was in government, he made cuts that made it easier for illegal guns to come across the border. Mr. Speaker, we're going to be adding 1,000 officers at the border. He also has campaigned on a commitment.
When you're as tall and gangly as this, you should not be waving your arms like that. You're going to take somebody else's eye out sitting next to you. These morons, they think we believe them.
Mr. Speaker, it seems the Liberal strategy is to say that the public safety minister is not incompetent enough to be fired because they have, by comparison, an even more incompetent minister of justice. I guess everything is relative, Mr. Speaker. And I'm glad that to prove his incompetence, I'm glad he brought up the issue of border security, because we asked the government in an order paper question last week whether they'd keep their promise on 1,000 new border guards. They got back saying not only have they not hired the 1,000 more, they have no plans to do so. More incompetence from this public safety minister. When will the Prime Minister fire him?
Of course, the criminal organization that runs Canada does not want to stop the human and drug trafficking coming across the border because they're probably in on it.
To hire 1,000 officers at the border, I would point my honourable colleague opposite to the election campaign platform that Canadians across the country, including of the riding of Carleton, supported to make sure that we would defend our border against the flow of illegal guns and drugs into Canada. Mr. Speaker, for years
His answer for not hiring the guards is because they got elected.
That's completely unserious, pretending that it's only law-abiding people who shoot guns in this country. The fact is there are criminals who shot innocent people. We are going to do something about it.
Yeah, so you're going to confiscate the legal guns from the criminals?
Speaker, is incredible. Only that minister who ruined the immigration system, the ruined the housing market, could simultaneously repeat a promise while breaking it. Right. It was last week that the Liberal promise of another, yes, that's right, a Liberal promise is a prom.
The honourable member knows that he can't use prompts. Yeah. Okay, the honourable member has 15 seconds left, so we'll start the clock again.
Mr. Speaker, it was just last week that the minister's own department revealed that they are breaking their promise on 1,000 new border guards. They say they are not only have they not hired the 1,000, but they haven't even developed the plan to do so. That is the responsibility of the public safety minister. He's broken the promise. Will he be fired?
Where did the money go?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Where was the money go? Where did the money go that was allocated to this?
Canadians gave this government a mandate to do many things, including...
Yeah, there we go again. My answer to everything. Ah, we got elected. Just listen. Shut up.
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. It's obvious that the Leader of the Opposition doesn't understand the hiring process, nor the plan and the work that goes into hiring these 1,000 exceptional men and women who are going to serve this country. I want to take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to welcome the leader back into the House, but also ask him, maybe this is time for him to take his security clearances so he can actually do his job properly.
What?
Contestation de la loi 21 est un coup de force constitutionnel. Leur discours d'aujourd'hui le prouve. Leur problème, c'est plus que la laïcité. Leur problème, c'est que le Québec puisse utiliser la clause dérogatoire pour adopter des lois avec lesquelles Ottawa n'est pas d'accord. Alors, ils veulent affaiblir cette clause, seul outil permettant à Québec de ne pas être subordonné à Ottawa et à ses tribunaux. Ils veulent transformer le gouvernement à Ottawa en gouvernement supérieur et celui de Québec en gouvernement inférieur. Est-ce qu'ils vont se retirer de la contestation et mettre fin à ce coup de force constitutionnel?
Mais non, ils ne vont pas répondre à ta question.
L'honorable ministre de la Justice.
Monsieur le Président, ce n'est pas une surprise. Nous avons la même position pour quelques années. Quand le cas est arrivé à la Cour suprême du Canada, nous faisons une intervention. Il est très important pour le gouvernement fédéral de défendre nos chartes, défendre les droits des hommes partout notre pays. Comme le député savait très bien, le cas est arrivé à la Cour suprême du Canada, nous faisons une intervention. C'est simple.
L'honorable député de Saint-Jean.
J'ai pas compris les derniers trois mots.
Les libéraux font plus que contester la loi 21. Ils veulent s'assurer d'avoir un droit de regard sur toutes les lois québécoises. Ce que leur mémoire suggère, c'est que les Québécois n'ont pas assez de jugement pour qu'on les laisse voter leurs propres lois sans supervision d'Ottawa. Et pour le démontrer, ils s'appuient sur des exemples complètement apocalyptiques, comme la possibilité que le Québec utilise la clause dérogatoire pour légaliser l'esclavage ou les exécutions arbitraires. Monsieur le Président,
Mais pourquoi vous avez voté avec les libéraux la dernière fois? Hein? Pourquoi vous votez avec les libéraux? Pourquoi vous votez avec les libéraux? C'est ça qui va. Juste pas au Québec, toutes les provinces qui font ça.
Monsieur le Président, ma collègue parle d'exagération. C'est quand même assez fort en café, merci. Parler d'exagération après cette intervention.
The Hans Gruber of climate change.
La réponse à sa question est dans sa question. Les tribunaux ne peuvent pas changer la Constitution, Monsieur le Président. C'est clair. Notre intervention ne vise pas à faire en sorte que les tribunaux puissent changer la Constitution. Elle l'a dit hier, le seul organe qui peut changer la Constitution, c'est le Parlement, Monsieur le Président. Notre intervention ne vise pas à changer la Constitution, mais à protéger la Charte des droits et libertés.
No. The government's already violated the charter. You don't get to fucking say you don't violate the charter.
La Constitution et son article 33 sur la clause dérogatoire, ben qu'il lance une ronde de négociations constitutionnelles, qu'il rouvre la Constitution s'ils veulent en changer les règles, qu'il traite le Québec et les provinces comme des interlocuteurs égaux dans un débat public au lieu de passer par les tribunaux, qu'ils respectent leur propre fédération et qu'ils se comportent comme des démocrates. Monsieur le Président, est-ce que les libéraux vont retirer leur mémoire insultant pour les Québécois et se retirer de la contestation de la loi 21?
No, ils vont pas faire ça du tout, because they are all about authoritarian control. They are not going to let the provinces have control anymore.
Nous ne voulons pas de changer la Constitution. Alors nous voulons une opportunité pour le Cour de clarifier la Constitution. Il est très important pour le gouvernement fédéral de défendre nos constitutions. Maintenant, le cas arrivé à la Cour suprême du Canada, c'est les forums appropriés pour faire des arguments, pas dans la Chambre des communes.
The Liberals are the most dangerous politicians in Canada. They want the courts to run you, not Parliament.
And what's their answer? Targeting law-abiding hunters and sports shooters. This minister was caught on leaked audio accidentally telling the truth about the Liberal gun buyback scheme. He admitted it's not worth
too much
the money,
to hope that they
it
will
go over
mention
budget, that it's
the ostrich
politically
farm during
motivated,
question
all
period
for
today.
optics.
And
So
so this is yet another question
going to work. Yet this prime minister is telling the minister
on the gun buyback.
Full steam ahead. He's actively trying to sell a program that he admits will waste $750 million and not improve public safety. Why won't the prime minister just fire this minister?
L'honorable secrétaire d'État pour la nature.
Monsieur le Président, je vais commencer en rétablissant quelques faits. Le programme qui a été annoncé ce midi, c'est un programme qui sert à retirer des armes de style d'assaut. Ça ne touche pas à la chasse. Je le répète, ça ne touche pas à la chasse. Tous les chasseurs régionaux n'utilisent pas pour la chasse des armes de style d'assaut qui seront retirées. C'est ce qui a été annoncé aujourd'hui et c'est un programme attendu par tous les Canadiens. Ça a commencé en 1989 après le féminicide. C'est encore vrai aujourd'hui. On va le faire. Merci.
They keep going back to the incident in '89.
Safety minister who set the record straight when he was caught on tape saying that this program won't do a thing for public safety. They're not taking guns away from criminals. They're letting criminals things that would protect Canadians. That's money being diverted away from the border where illegal guns and drugs could be stopped. It's $750 million that's not going to new border agents to deport foreign criminals. Mr. Speaker, why won't this Prime Minister just do the right thing and fire this incompetent public safety minister?
L'honorable secrétaire d'État pour la nature.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. I'll try in English. Maybe you will understand a bit more. That program...
Gaslighting is the same in both official languages.
...is to remove in the hands of Canadians firearms that are designed to kill people, not for hunting. And it is not.
She's a complete moron because every single weapon on the planet can be used to kill anything alive.
We said we will do that. We will do that.
It doesn't matter if it has a short barrel, long barrel, pistol grip, a stock, a forestock.
In a leaked audio recording, the Liberal Public Safety Minister said that their gun buyback program won't keep Canadians safe and that it's a waste of money. Well, we agree on both counts, but he's pressing ahead. and he launched an assault on licensed law-abiding gun owners today. But gun crime is up 130% under these Liberals, that Liberal minister and that Prime Minister. The minister's job is to keep Canadians safe, and he's saying himself that this $750 million program won't do that. Will the Prime Minister fire his minister?
The Honourable Minister of Public
They're going to come back and say, no, we need to protect people. We need to buy these weapons. You don't understand.
Opportunity, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to clarify what we're doing, Mr. Speaker. First and foremost, whatever the member opposite said is factually incorrect. I support this policy, Mr. Speaker. That's why I brought this forward today
Buddy,
at 12:30 this afternoon.
you're on tape
I, along with
saying you don't support it.
here, as well
You're
as
gaslighting
Police,
Canadians
Chief of
in
Cape
Parliament.
Breton, as well as the
Now,
Deputy
as an
Commissioner
MP,
of
you're
CMP,
allowed to lie.
announced the
Lie through your
compensation
teeth
program
right
as a
there
pilot
in
first
Parliament
in
to Canada
Nova Scotia,
during
and
question
we will be
period.
expanding it across Canada, Mr. Speaker.
But we're not
I
allowed to
invite
call
the
you a
party
liar in
opposite
Parliament.
to get on board and to ensure that guns are off our streets.
You're nothing but a liar.
The Honourable Member for Lethbridge. Oh, sorry, sorry, my mistake. Leeds, Grenville, 1,000 Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Well, Mr. Speaker, you'll have to accept my apologies if I don't take the Public Safety Minister at his word today. If instead we take him at his word from Monday, when he said that the program was a waste of money, it wasn't going to keep Canadians safe, and if it's such a good idea and it's not going to target people who are not breaking the law, why was he offering to bail his buddy out of jail? How could his friend be targeted unless, of course, this was going to target licensed law-abiding firearms owners? The OPP have said no, they won't participate. A Crown Corporation Canada Post won't participate. It's $750 million that could hire cops to keep Canadians safe. That's not what they're focused on. Will the PM fire the minister?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, this afternoon we were able to launch the assault-style firearms compensation program. It starts first off in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, with a pilot. It'll last for 5 to 7 weeks, Mr. Speaker. From there, we will expand it across Canada. This is what Canadians voted for on April the 28th. They gave us a mandate to implement this program, Mr. Speaker, and we will be implementing this program. We will ensure that those prohibited weapons, including AR-15s, are off our streets, Mr. Speaker.
These are weapons that they just decided to prohibit.
Mr. Speaker, the reality is that after releasing violent offenders and targeting law-abiding citizens of this country, such as sports shooters or hunters, gun crime has actually surged by 130% under this Liberal government. The Public Safety Minister admits that it's simply a gun grab rather than accomplishing anything good for Canadians. He has confessed that he doesn't know what an RPEL is, and he has sponsored a bill that undermines civil liberties. He is mired in conflict of interest concerns. So would the Prime Minister finally do the right thing and fire this incompetent minister?
I'm telling you, every single Liberal is incompetent, half-wit, a goofball, a thief, a criminal. I don't know. Everything they do points to that because they won't prove us wrong.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague spoke in French and then she spoke in English, and the Tories still didn't get it, so I will speak slow, Mr. Speaker. This is not about...
Oh, we know you're pretty slow if you're going to be a Liberal.
about infringing upon people that are out there legally hunting, Mr. Speaker. And I got a lot of people from...
Well, how boo is going to be illegal? That's when you're infringing on people's rights. Because the farmer and a hunter was okay a couple of years ago using the same rifle that you just decided to make illegal.
L'honorable député de Bellechasse, les Échemins, Lévis.
Le ministre de la Sécurité publique admet dans un enregistrement que le programme libéral de rachat d'armes à feu ne vaut pas les 750 millions qu'il s'apprête pourtant à dépenser, Monsieur le Président. Il le sait, on le sait, ce programme ne fera qu'embêter les bons citoyens comme les chasseurs et ne viendra pas diminuer la criminalité par arme à feu qui a augmenté, disons-le, de 130% sous les libéraux. Les Canadiens n'ont pas confiance en ce ministre pour mettre en œuvre une politique qu'il reconnaît lui-même inefficace. Le seul choix qui lui reste à faire, Monsieur le Président, c'est de démissionner. Va-t-il le faire?
No questions about the ostriches today, I guess, eh?
Merci à ma collègue pour la question en français. Vous le savez, puis elle le sait aussi, les événements de Polytechnique ont déclenché au Canada toute une marche des Canadiens pour qu'on retire de
Les événements à la Polytechnique,
les armes de
they were
style d'assaut.
by a Muslim who hated women, right? He took on a French name, He went in there, hated women, started killing them. And all the men in the classroom were all just ballless hippies that none of them could even. They just stood there and watched while other women were shot, while he reloaded and shot them. So this is not a gun issue. This is a mental health issue that caused that shooting.
Monsieur le Président, les libéraux ont fait augmenter la criminalité liée aux armes à feu de 130%. C'est un fait. Le ministre de la Sécurité publique admet que le programme de rachat des armes à feu est purement politique. C'est un autre fait. Il admet qu'il est inefficace. On le sait. Le ministre est chaud à garder les Canadiens en sécurité. Le premier ministre va-t-il demander la démission de son ministre? Oui ou non?
L'honorable secrétaire d'État pour la Nature.
Sur mon lit d'hôpital, Monsieur le Président, il y a 35 ans, je ne comprenais pas ce qui arrivait. Je ne comprenais pas que dans un pays comme le Canada, un événement tel que celui-là puisse m'arriver. En janvier 1990, j'étais à la première conférence de presse entourée des familles et des étudiants de Polytechnique qui demandaient qu'on retire les armes de style d'assaut de nos rues. Je vais continuer de militer, mais ce qui est le plus important, c'est ce qu'on fait.
This person's probably never fired a rifle in her life. This constant assignment of assault rifle as opposed to just rifle is gaslight.
Monsieur le Président, la contestation de la loi 21 par les libéraux va beaucoup plus loin que la laïcité de l'État. Ce qu'ils nous disent avec leur mémoire, c'est « on les a vu aller, les Québécois, avec leur laïcité. Rendus là, ils seraient même capables de fermer les églises ou fermer les journaux si Ottawa les empêche pas. » Monsieur le Président, les libéraux veulent affaiblir la clause dérogatoire pour que le fédéral et, évidemment, les juges nommés par le fédéral aient le dernier mot sur toutes les lois votées au Québec, Monsieur le Président. Au Québec, on appelle ça une mise en tutelle. Au Canada, je ne sais pas, le ministre peut peut-être nous renseigner.
L'honorable ministre de l'Identité et de la Culture canadienne.
Monsieur le Président, je suis vraiment désolé, mais ce que dit mon collègue est simplement faux. Notre intervention en Cour suprême vise à défendre la Charte des droits et libertés. Nous sommes le parti de la Charte. Nous l'avons toujours défendue. Nous allons toujours continuer de la défendre. Pas plus tard que la semaine dernière, il y a une province qui a annoncé qu'elle allait utiliser dans 3 projets de loi, en même temps, la clause non-obstant, Monsieur le Président. 3 projets de loi, une seule province. Nous voulons que, quand les provinces et les territoires décident d'utiliser la clause non-obstant, les tribunaux puissent dire aux citoyens et citoyennes de ces provinces-là, vos droits sont violés. C'est ce que nous demandons à la Cour suprême, Monsieur le Président.
You dickheads, you don't get to intervene on citizens living in a province by overriding the province's rights, which is what you're trying to do.
La laïcité de l'État peut s'être renversée. Ça, c'est clair comme de l'eau de roche. Mais leur démarche va plus loin. Ils veulent se donner le dernier mot et assujettir les lois du Québec à leur permission et à celles des juges qui sont nommés par Ottawa. Les libéraux veulent réaliser leur plus vieille ambition, Monsieur le Président. Tout décider à la place de tout le monde dans ce Canada-là. Mais si c'est ça l'espace qu'on réserve aux Québécois, je me demande bien ce qu'on fait encore.
Wait a sec. The Liberals want to control every single thing that Canadians do, then it's time for Quebec to get the hell out.
La dernière élection, les Québécois et les Québécoises ont choisi d'élire 2 fois plus de libéraux que de représentants.
Ah, yes, they all fall back. Oh, yeah, but we got elected, right? So you have to do what we say. If we're acting like totalitarian movie heads, you have to do what we say because we got elected.
Pas plus tard qu'au début de la semaine dernière, j'étais avec 2 représentants du gouvernement du Québec pour annoncer un projet de 20 000 logements, dont 10 000 logements hors marché, monsieur.
Oh, yeah, and all the money we're spending giving you modular homes. Don't forget about that. Don't forget about the tax cut, too. Forget, we got elected. Yeah.
The honourable member for Brantford, Brent South, Six Nations.
Public safety minister's #1 job is to keep Canadians safe. Instead, he's blowing taxpayer dollars on a gun buyback program he knows will fail. The Toronto Police Association has slammed it as useless, and they're right. Almost every gun used in Toronto crime last year was smuggled, the overwhelming majority from the U.S. Yet this minister is attacking law-abiding Canadians knowing full well his program will not work. The minister has failed to do his job. Will the Prime Minister fire this incompetent minister?
I think you're right with the Freudian slip. This Prime Minister will fail.
That's why the Conservatives are against getting our guns off our streets. I'm puzzled why AR-15s are required.
You're not trying to get guns off the street. You're trying to get them out of legally owned safes, gun safes. You're trying to take them from the gun safes, not from the streets.
On our streets, in our communities. That's what we're doing here today, Mr. Speaker, with the plan that we launched today in Cape Breton and will be spread across Canada. We are getting serious guns off our streets, and we'll make sure our communities are safer.
The honourable
Non-stop
member for Brantford, Brant
gaslighting.
South, Six Nations.
Mr. Speaker, the truth came out a few days ago. He knows the gun grab will fail. He was caught on tape admitting it will blow the budget and that it'd be better to lock up criminals committing the crimes. Sorry, Minister, your words were not misguided. They were the truth. That's right. But today he's blindly plowing ahead, not to protect Canadians, but because the Prime Minister wants a political stunt. That's right. If he knows it'll fail, admits it'll waste millions, and says it's all about politics, why is he still in charge of public safety?
That's a good question.
Because every single liberal is fake, is a
I
liar.
recognize the member opposite is a lawyer, and I know he knows what defamation is, and I invite him to say the exact same words outside in the House, Mr. Speaker.
Well, look at
What I will
this.
say, Mr. Speaker, is that the program that we launched today is one that will make
This minister just challenged a former prosecutor
I couldn't hear it now.
by telling him,
my best, you know, but
What?
it's very hard sometimes. So if the honourable minister could start from the top, because I really didn't catch anything he was saying.
Mr. Speaker, I realize that the member opposite who just asked that question is a lawyer, and I know that he knows defamation law, and I invite him to say those exact same words outside of the House, Mr. Speaker. What I will say is we have launched a program today that will ensure the safety and security
I sure
of
hope he
Canadians.
does,
We will
because he's on tape saying
those
it.
who are willing to bring forward their prohibited weapons and collect remuneration for that, Mr. Speaker. We will ensure that we have greater bail reform laws, Mr. Speaker, that will keep serious violent criminals off our streets. We could do both.
You haven't done that for 10 years. You're not going to do anything.
Mr. Speaker, gun crime is up 130%, and Toronto police report that 88% of the illegal guns they seize have been smuggled north across our southern border. The Liberal Public Safety Minister does nothing to keep our communities in the Toronto area safe. Instead, he focuses on banning legal hunting rifles in rural Canada.
Hear, hear.
When will the Prime Minister take action and actually hold this minister accountable and fire him? He's done nothing to keep Toronto safe, and that is his job.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, this government has put historic investments into our borders to be
Not
able
investments,
to
they're
keep
spending,
guns,
and you
illegal
didn't do
guns off our
spending
streets
because you
and
didn't
Canadians
hire the
safe.
1,000
We're gonna
officers.
continue to bring further legislation that will tighten our sentencing and bail system. But Mr. Speaker, mass shootings are a crime. And we have several examples of mass shootings that have taken place in Canada and the United States.
L'honorable député de Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles.
Monsieur le Président, avec ce ministre de la Sécurité publique, c'est échec après échec. Augmentation de 130 des crimes commis avec une arme à feu. Il a été pris en flagrant délit, admettant que le programme libéral de confiscation des armes à feu est motivé pour des raisons politiques. Et maintenant, il échoue à la frontière en laissant des réseaux mafieux africains s'infiltrer et exploiter les Québécois les plus vulnérables. Est-ce que le Premier ministre va mettre son ministre à la porte?
L'honorable secrétaire d'État pour la Nature.
Monsieur le Premier ministre, Monsieur le Président, mon Dieu, Monsieur le Président, c'est important qu'on finisse ce geste-là. Les Canadiens l'attendent. C'est important qu'on respecte les
This woman is the
engagements
most
qu'on a pris.
dangerous
Ce
MP
programme-là va nous
in
permettre
Canada,
de le faire.
next to the other
Et je
goofballs
crois
you've
que
just
tous
been
les
seeing.
Québécois, tous les Canadiens,
She
c'est ce qu'ils
truly
attendent.
believes
C'est pas la
that
seule
not a
chose qu'il faut
single
faire pour combattre
Canadian
le crime, mais ça fait partie de l'ensemble des
is
mesures
smart
que
enough
nous allons
or
prendre
lawful
pour
enough
y arriver. Merci, Monsieur le
to
Président.
handle a rifle. She doesn't think anyone should have a rifle anywhere in Canada.
Ma question
That's
s'adresse au
who
ministre
these
de
fascists are.
la Sécurité publique et non pas au secrétaire d'État à la nature. Parce qu'ici, on parle de sécurité aux frontières, on parle de crimes de groupes mafieux africains. Il faut savoir, Monsieur le Président, qu'à cause de ce ministre de la sécurité publique est rendue un enjeu majeur au Canada. On a des problèmes. Et là, on n'a rien qui a été fait pour contrôler les groupes mafieux africains. Est-ce que le premier ministre va mettre son ministre de la sécurité publique dehors?
Excellent question.
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I do want to caution this member that he is really treading lightly in the language he's using, describing a particular group that he's concerned about, Mr. Speaker. It is borderline racism, and I do caution...
Oh, my God. This is where this fucking hate legislation is going to come in, right? Because they're going to silence them from pointing out real crimes.
We are bringing forward... We have already invested $1.3 billion in securing our border, Mr. Speaker. We are hiring 1,000 new RCMP officers, and
If Somali gangs are committing crimes, it's not racist to point out that they are Somali gangs, you racist piece of shit.
The Honourable Member for Guelph.
Mr. Speaker, even with Canada's success in negotiating new trade deals around the world, efforts to secure a new agreement with the U.S., and launching major projects,
the self-licking ice cream cone question of the day.
Steel, aluminum, and autos are hurting businesses of all sizes, including manufacturing and food in my riding of Guelph. Will the minister responsible for FedDev please outline which new programs are available to support them in these difficult times and how to access them?
Yes, please let us know how my tax dollars are being spent to help people in the economy that you destroy.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my honourable colleague from Guelph for her important question and the tireless work on behalf of her constituents and local businesses. Southern Ontario, as we all know, has been among the hardest hit by tariffs, home to the steel and auto industries and industries that employ...
You mean the tariffs that Carney imposed on the U.S., ruining our trade deal?
Tools in Windsor and organizations like the Niagara Economic Development Corporation.
Yes, all those failures in statecraft by your government being unable to achieve trade deals with our largest trading partner. Please, more.
New jobs. That's why our regional tariff response initiative is now open, Mr. Speaker, for application, and why our caucus is so...
That's all they know how to do. Dish out more money, create problems, and dish out more money.
The Public Safety Minister's #1 job is to keep Canadians safe. And he has failed at that job. In a secret recording, he said, "Don't ask me about the logic." And I agree. I don't see the logic either. Gun crimes are up 130%. Bail across the country is perceived as a joke, and these Liberals in Bill C-5 voted to lower sentences for gun crimes. Everything in this file is a mess. So why doesn't the Prime Minister fire his Public Safety Minister?
Because he's probably doing a better job than a Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to public safety in this country, we agree that there is work to do when it comes to bail reform and to tighten sentencing, which is why we will be introducing legislation that makes the criminal justice system treat serious crime with more serious consequences going forward. But a point of disagreement between the government and the opposition is the role of assault-style weapons in this country. Mr. Speaker, my constituents at home in Nova Scotia and Canadians that I meet in every province believe that it is common sense to take guns that are designed to kill people off our streets.
Understand that when a bullet comes out of the end of a barrel, regardless of how the gun is designed, it's going to kill what's on the other end.
This, Mr. Speaker, house arrest for people who do drive-by shootings, and that minister voted for it. That is a point of disagreement, Mr. Speaker. This minister has one job, and that's to keep us safe. $742 million are going towards a program that he doesn't even believe in. How many RCMP officers could that get us? How many border security officers can that get us? This whole thing is an absolute mess. The question is this: when will the Prime Minister fire him?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we take crime, all types of crime, very seriously. And that is why this government's second piece of legislation in this House was C2, to make sure we give our policing organizations the tools they need to crack down on organized crime.
They lie through their teeth. They're not taking crime seriously. You didn't hire, you didn't do anything for the border. You're confiscating guns from gun lockers.
That rifle was designed to kill human beings. So, if I could ask
the rifle was designed to be a beautiful piece of kit that was easy to shoot.
Reminder through the Speaker, through the Chair. The honourable member for York Durham.
In the last election, the Prime Minister promised to hire 1,000 new border officers. Now, the Minister of Public Safety in his response today suggested we just don't understand the hiring process. Let me suggest to him that he doesn't understand how promises work. You actually have to keep them. But internal documents from the CBSA last week disclosed to this House that the Minister of Public Safety responsible for hiring border officers has hired precisely 0. His #1 job is to keep Canadians safe, and he has failed. When will the Prime Minister hold this minister responsible and fire him?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We made a promise in the last election, Mr. Speaker. On April the 28th, Canadians gave us a mandate, and we're fulfilling that promise this afternoon, Mr. Speaker. We've launched the compensation program where in Cape Breton, as a starting point, we were piloting the ability for individual owners who have prohibited firearms.
He asked you about the border.
To law enforcement who will collect it, who will inspect it, and who
He asked you about the border, and you're answering about your failed buyback. Your failed gun buyback. You're answering with that when he's asking you about the border.
I look forward to support from the member opposite who's really
So when the U.S. says you can't have a trade deal because your border's fucked, you say, oh, yeah, well, we're buying back our guns from legal gun owners.
Seriously, but his own response to this House tells a very different story. Not only has he failed to hire a single new border officer, he doesn't even have a plan to hire any. He has failed to keep the government's promise, failed to hire new border officers, failed to stem the flow of illegal guns across the border, and failed to keep Canadians safe, his one and only job. So when will the Prime Minister hold this minister accountable and fire him?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, we look forward to welcoming 1,000 new RCMP and 1,000 new CBSA officers to the ranks of our frontline public service, Mr. Speaker. I was in Regina, Mr. Speaker, speaking to the RCMP training facilities. We're getting prepared to be able to train the 1,000 new RCMP officers we will be onboarding over the next several years, Mr. Speaker. It is important that we continue to invest
Don't have any
in
recruits.
law enforcement. That's exactly what this Prime Minister committed to. That's exactly
You can brag all you want about your facilities, but you're down 10%. You're not getting any recruits because nobody wants to work for your totalitarian foxtrot uniform.
600 non-citizens with serious criminal records who were set to be deported. Over 70% of these people have been convicted of serious crimes such as sexual assault. Right now, these people are still roaming our streets. The minister had one job, and it's to keep Canadians safe. He's failed it. Will the Prime Minister fire his public safety minister?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, this year we are on target to remove over 20,000 individuals who do not meet the requirements to be in Canada, Mr. Speaker. It is a record level of removals in Canadian history, and we're working.
There's far more that needs to be removed because
even further.
we've never brought in this many people into the country unvetted in the entire hit with a bunch of people who are killing us.
What we've been working on. We will continue to invest in Canadians.
Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
I'm not sure what on track means when there's 600 serious criminals who are non-citizens who should be deported but are on the streets. We asked these questions in May and in
They're
June.
on track
the minister had the entire
for your
summer to come up with a
population
plan. These are
replacement
people who have
plan.
been
Right?
convicted
It's
of
going to be
crimes
one way or
like
another.
sexual
You got to get
assault,
rid of
and
Canadians.
he lost them, and he can't find them. Why won't the Prime Minister fire his public safety minister?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the Canada Border Service Agency has been working very hard throughout this, not just the summer, Mr. Speaker, the last several years to ensure that our borders are stronger than ever. This year, we are on target to have more than 20,000 removals of those who are not eligible to be in this country, and that number is accelerating by the month, Mr. Speaker. This is the type of work that our exceptional front service
The
officers
amount
are
of
doing.
drug
This is the
trafficking
type
and
of
human
investment that
trafficking
we will be adding
going
to this
across our
year,
borders
including
was
adding
pointed out
1,000
to
new
you
CBSA officers, Mr.
by the
Speaker.
U.S. government
Honourable
after
Member
Trump
for
got
St.
elected,
Albert,
and you have done
Sturgeon
sweet
River.
FA about it.
Speaker, the Minister of Public Safety got caught on tape telling his tenant that he need not worry about the Liberals' $750 million gun buyback because he could simply ignore it, and then proceeded to joke that he would bail him out if he got arrested. In other words, the Minister of Public Safety effectively counseled his tenant to break the law. In the face of this serious ethical lapse, will the Prime Minister fire this minister?
Well, of course not. Because if the Liberals had ethics,
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate another
They would be
opportunity
Liberals.
to talk about our compensation program that we launched today. At 12:30 today, Mr. Speaker, I, along with many of my colleagues, including the Secretary of State for Nature, who you've heard in this House, Mr. Speaker, of the enormous work that she has done over decades in advocating for this moment, Mr. Speaker. Survivors across Canada have asked for this, Mr. Speaker. It's important that we get weapons such as AR-15s off our streets. That's exactly what we've done. We'll be expanding this.
So it wasn't
from Cape Breton
farmers,
to across Canada over the next
it
5
wasn't
to 7
hunters
weeks, Mr. Speaker.
who went into that classroom in 1989. It was a mental health problematic Muslim person who hated women.
Rips off law-abiding firearms owners when he promised his frustrated tenant to personally pay the difference in value for his confiscated firearm. Counseling his tenant to break the law, promising to bail him out, and then trying to appease him by cutting a check. How many ethical lapses is it going to take before the Prime Minister fires this incompetent minister?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I invite this House, I invite the members opposite to have a serious conversation about guns, Mr. Speaker. When you want to talk about crime, when we want to work together to ensure that our streets are safer, it needs to be a serious conversation.
You can't talk to these people. They won't listen to common sense, and neither will their followers.
From our streets,
If you take guns from legal gun owners who follow the law, you're not going to help illegal gun use. But then again, these are the same people that coerced the nation into an experimental vaccine that didn't work. And then the people just took it and got injured and died, and they're still taking it up to
Member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Mr. Speaker, the first job of the public safety minister is to keep Canadians safe. This public safety minister admitted to not knowing what a firearms license is. He said he doesn't know what the classifications of firearms are, and he couldn't even defend his own Liberal government's gun confiscation scheme to his tenant on the most basic questions. And this is the minister responsible for Canada's gun laws. The public safety minister oversees national security, terrorism. What else does he not know about his own file? His incompetence puts Canadian lives at risk. When will the Prime Minister fire him?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite, I'm told, understands weapons, understands firearms. I want to ask him a very simple question, Mr. Speaker. Why do we need AR-15s in our communities? Why do we need it in our neighborhoods? Why do we need it on our streets, Mr. Speaker? Can that member tell this House why we need that type of Canadians, Mr. Speaker?
Oh, I hope Andrew gives me an answer.
The Honourable Member for Avalon.
Andrew would have destroyed him.
The 2025 wildfire season has been the second worst wildfire season on record, with communities across the country, including
Thank you for reminding us how the Liberals have completely dropped the file on fighting wildfires across Canada for the past 10 years and doing absolutely nothing about it, right? In fact, blaming climate change when the majority of the fires are being caused by arson.
supported Canadians and the wildfires response.
The Honourable
And there's going to be some answer in there about climate change. Betcha.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the first responders and local officials and members of the Canadian Armed Forces whose work on the front lines saved lives and protected communities. We were there for Newfoundland and Labradorians as they faced these historic wildfires. We also supported Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, and Nova Scotia. In true Canadian form, the provinces and territories stepped up to help one another when more resources were needed. While many face a long road to recovery, we'll continue to support Canadians with focus, determination, and unity.
Oh, great. They're going to focus on them. That's the kind of support they're going to get. Determination, focus, but nothing else.
#1 job. But the rising number of extortion cases in this country is out of control. Surrey police say that the number of cases they're investigating since June have tripled. Canadians continue to live in fear of their houses being shot at or businesses being burnt down or much, much worse. Meanwhile, the minister continues to make empty promises of additional RCMP officers, but they haven't been hired yet. This minister has clearly failed to keep Canadians safe from international gangs and extortions. When will the Prime Minister fire him?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Here.
Mr. Speaker, extortion is illegal in Canada. It carries a very stiff penalty. The Conservatives would like people to believe
So is
that it
invoking the
illegal
Emergencies
to extort
Act
people.
when there is no
It is
emergency,
not. There are
as was ruled by the court, illegal.
sentences that
You people have no clue
extortion
what illegal
carries.
is.
We've created a national task force that is working and monitoring all extortions and connecting police agencies across this country. Many arrests have been made. We won't stop there. We'll continue to go after extortionists.
Well,
It's
until
illegal,
they arrest the
and they will
Liberal
be put
Party for
behind
extorting
bars.
Canadians into a failed vaccine, killing and injuring a bunch of them, what's the use?
The #1 job of the Public Safety Minister is to keep Canadians safe, and he has failed. Extortion is up 330%, especially in my riding of Abbotsford South Langley. The minister has not yet labeled the Bishnoi Gang as a terrorist organization who are responsible for widespread violence in Canada. Designating the Bishnoi Group as a terrorist entity will arm the law enforcement with the critical tools needed to prosecute the gang activities. Politicians nationwide have been calling on this. Will this minister resign today, or will the Prime Minister finally fire him for his poor behavior?
The Honourable Secretary of State for
Come back and say
Combating
the minister or the members of theirs racist
Safety
away.
is a top priority for this new government. National security experts independently evaluate and make recommendations on terrorist entity listings. This work is ongoing, and we hope to
The
have a
United
decision
States has
very
pretty well
soon.
branded Canada a leaky terrorist state because we have no more borders and we're just leaking terrorists like a sieve.
Skyrocketed by 330%. This past Saturday night, my community was targeted by Bishnoi terrorists who carried out a shooting followed by an attempt to extort the victim. This gang is actively threatening innocent Canadians, causing fear in neighborhoods like mine. Yet, this minister has failed to label them as a terrorist organization. My question to the Minister of Public and Safety is simple. Will this minister resign, or will the Prime Minister fire him today?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, it is the RCMP that first came out to expose the Bishnoi Gang in this country as an organization that is actively working in our neighborhoods. It is a crime to extort Canadians. We will go after them. We've created a national task force to address this issue. Our national security experts are
Liberals are
independently
always creating
evaluating the
something,
listing
right? They always
of
need to
Bishnoi as a
create
terrorist
something.
organization.
Why is it they're
I
never
hope they will
using
arrive
the
at a decision
tools that are
soon so
there
that we
in the
can
first place
continue
that were able to be
keep
used by
our
the prior
communities safe.
government?
Speaker, Canada's new government has been elected on the promise to spend less, invest more, and make government more efficient. Can the President of Treasury Board update this House on the red tape review he has been recently launched, and how it will help ensure more effective service delivery for Canadians?
Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my honourable colleague for this question. Canada's new government is taking bold actions and delivering results. We're eliminating red tape to improve efficiency and to deliver better and faster services to Canadians. We have received almost 500 proposals since launching our red tape review.
So they have completely messed everything up for the past 10 years and continually have to create new programs, new initiatives, new spending. And then along the way, all their friends get powdered with that money.
Monsieur le Président, quel autre beau gâchis de ce gouvernement libéral avec le dossier des armes à feu? La criminalité a augmenté de 130% sous les libéraux et le ministre se trompe de cible en s'attaquant aux honnêtes citoyens, chasseurs et tireurs sportifs. Le nouveau ministre de la Sécurité publique dit en privé que c'est un gaspillage d'argent, le fameux rachat d'armes, que le budget va exploser. Mais sous la pression du PM, il doit hypocritement poursuivre le programme. Le ministre n'a plus de légitimité. Quand le premier ministre va le congédier?
L'honorable secrétaire, excusez-moi, secrétaire d'État à la nature. Oui.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Merci à mon collègue pour sa question. Les Canadiens souhaitent vivre dans un univers en sécurité et depuis 35 ans, ils savent que des armes de style d'assaut peuvent commettre des massacres au Canada. C'est arrivé à moi, c'est arrivé à d'autres collègues, à d'autres citoyens
No,
du
you
Canada.
moron. Guns don't cause massacres. People with
Et ce qu'on
mental
va
health
faire
issues cause
aujourd'hui, qui
massacres.
commence au Cap-Breton, et je remercie l'équipe du Cap-Breton qui démarre ce programme-là pilote. On va retirer de nos rues les armes de style d'assaut pour faire de notre pays un pays plus sécuritaire. Merci.
The honourable member for Vancouver East.
The Liberal government abused their power one too many times by invoking Section 107 of the Labour Code as a backdoor to order striking workers back to work. They did it with rail, port, and postal workers. And they tried to do it with Air Canada flight attendants. QP National fought back and defied the back-to-work order. Trade unions across the country stood firmly on the side of flight attendants to say unpaid work don't fly. Will the minister respect the constitutional right of workers to free collective bargaining and repeal Section 107 of the Labour Code? Yes or no?
Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday I had the privilege and honour, along with Secretary of State of Labour, to meet with the Canadian building trades unions who are standing strongly with our government as we plan to build the strongest economy in the G7. We talked about the major projects that are going to provide great jobs for tradespeople, unionized tradespeople across this country, and the importance of having unionization in this country to protect a strong middle class. And Mr. Speaker, I will tell you that this government will always act quickly to support labour rights and to support industrial peace.
The honourable member for
Proof is in pudding. You did the exact opposite.
Canada is facing record wildfires that are destroying communities, critical infrastructure, and lives, while also creating dangerous air pollution that harms human health. Yet Canada still doesn't have a sovereign aerial firefighting fleet. In Port Alberni, Coulson Aviation is a world leader in retrofitting aircraft, such as the retired CC-130 Hercules, that could continue to protect Canadians and create high-skilled jobs here at home.
Okay, this guy brought that up earlier today. I have a few words to say
establishing
about
a permanent national aerial firefighting fleet so Canada can defend our communities from climate disasters while also meeting its NATO obligations.
The Honourable Minister of Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
Mr. Speaker, we're living in a reality where natural disasters are more frequent and more severe. I'm actively working with provinces and territories, Indigenous partners, and other stakeholders on how we can strengthen coordination and capacity. Throughout the summer, I met with first responders, local officials, and members of the Canadian Armed Forces to hear their first-hand experiences with wildfires this season. We'll ensure that communities have...
Le règlement, le député de Berthier-Masquinongé.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Rappel au règlement. En fait, la semaine dernière, Monsieur le Président, vous vous souviendrez qu'on a fait un rappel au règlement avec la ministre de l'Immigration qui avait dit, je vais le dire dans une autre langue vu qu'il n'a pas compris, ce qu'on a soulevé la semaine dernière comme point, c'était pas une attaque, on ne demandait pas d'excuses, on demandait de ne pas utiliser de telles paroles, on a demandé de les retirer. Ça n'a pas été fait la semaine dernière, c'est peut-être pour ça que ça recommence aujourd'hui. Monsieur le Président, j'ai le plus grand des respects pour le secrétaire d'État à la nature, mais de répondre à un député, je vais le dire dans une autre langue pour qu'il comprenne, c'est ça touche les langues officielles. Les deux langues officielles peuvent être acceptées.
So it's not a law in Parliament that you have to respond in the same language. We have two official languages in Canada, so if you're from Quebec and you don't like being answered in English, even though it's not the law, suck it up, Buttercup. I don't care who you're talking to.
Ça aiderait peut-être à tenir le climat en chambre plus calme. Là, je ne vous demanderai pas de demander à la secrétaire d'État de retirer ses paroles parce que ça n'a pas fonctionné la semaine dernière. Mais peut-être pourriez-vous au moins faire un rappel général aux membres du Parlement d'avoir du respect pour l'utilisation de la langue de notre choix et pour le travail de nos interprètes qui font un travail extraordinaire. Merci.
Et vous avez un choix de pogner le gizmo, mets ça dans ton oreille puis tu vas comprendre l'anglais.
Faites attention là, lorsqu'on tient des propos semblables, Comme j'ai dit la semaine dernière, c'est une façon de parler, de dire ces choses-là, mais c'est peut-être pas la meilleure façon de parler en cette Chambre. Alors, c'est bien noté le point que le député de Berthier-Masquinongé a soulevé. Je voudrais signaler aux députés la présence à la tribune de l'honorable René Legacy, vice-premier ministre, ministre des Finances et du Conseil du Trésor et ministre de l'Énergie pour la province du Nouveau-Brunswick. L'honorable
Gallery looks pretty empty.
Pour terminer, l'honorable Jean-Claude Damour, ministre de l'Éducation postsecondaire, de la Formation et du Travail, ministre des Affaires intergouvernementales et ministre responsable de l'immigration pour la province du Nouveau-Brunswick. And the Honorable John Herron, Minister of Natural Resources for the province of New Brunswick.
It looks like a cat ate his fish.
3:16, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the motion of Mr. Scheer relating to the business of supply. Calling in the members.
All right, that is the end of the nap, end of the question period. Now, what I'd like to do is definitely address the question that was being asked regarding using retired C-130s that Canada has and turning them into firefighting water bombers. Well, I have to tell you, that's probably not a good idea. Now, I don't know if somebody remembers some footage from a couple of years ago of one of those firefighting C-130s and where the wing just sheared right off as they were doing a pass, coming to drop the water off. And why is that? Well, aircrafts usually have a wing spar that runs across, and our aircraft in Canada, our C-130s, our older C-130 models, the older models we have, not the new J's, the older models, these are the ones that they want to convert. Well, they have a lot of hours on them. Unlike other militaries on the planet, Canada flies the piss out of our planes. We accumulate more airframe hours on the planes that we buy than any other country. Why? Because we're cheap, right? Or we're also, well, we used to be resourceful. So we would just refurbish, reinspect, replace, just set up a whole new inspection schedule. And we just keep flying them and flying them to the point whereby these aircraft manufacturers started coming back to Canada with some of these planes. Goes, oh my God, nobody else has flown these planes for this long. Can we start checking out your telemetry? Well, of course, this is something that all the time now, continually. There's flight data recorders collects all that, but that wasn't like that in the past. And that's when those planes were bought. Some of these planes are pretty old, right? 50s, 60s, 70s, some old airframes. And a lot of those planes with the cracked spars and everything, when they're flying along, well, guess what? Those cracked spars get checked on a regular basis, right? They do non-destructive testing on them to ensure that the cracks don't spread. And the engineers make decisions on whether how much and how long these planes can keep flying. So if they wanted to convert these C-130s into water bombers, well, they would have to replace the wing spars. So you might as well buy new planes. And aside from the fact that these are older planes, which means they need more maintenance, they also have the older engine types on them. They do not have the new Rolls-Royce turbofan engines in them. They have old reciprocating engines. Or no, sorry, it's reciprocating. They have turbine engines, but the props are basically hard mounted into the turbine as opposed to being freewheeling turbine, which are more efficient. So it's old technology, old planes, ready to fall apart and crack. As a matter of fact, we delayed retiring these planes far longer than what we should have. And in fact, it's gotten so desperate here at 8 Wing that they had to take a couple of the planes from the C-130J from the 436 Squadron transport fleet to use as search and rescue planes because they've always used a Herc here. But now, I guess the old Herc, well, it's finally done. My last job was working at the second line facility where we took these planes through inspections, and the amount of time that I was there, we've gotten to a point where that's it. We're just doing straight J's. The old models are getting ready to be retired. So it's a stupid idea. Somebody told him, somebody sold him on it. He's probably, looked down, saw it, goes, "Oh, that's great. I'll bring that up. I'll make myself look like a really good idea." Problem is, though, is that if you don't talk to anybody in the industry, you will not have a clue as to what you're talking about, which is on par for the NDP, that they usually don't know what they're talking about. Well, thank you all for coming out. If you watched this far, if you actually watched to the end, I've seen a few viewers come on and off. There's actually nobody watching this live stream right now. You just look at the numbers. Well, not on Rumble anyway. I have no idea what's going on X or CommieTube. But if you stay till the end, I really appreciate it. Again, please follow, like, subscribe, share, whatever platform you're on, and come back tomorrow, and we will be back with the nap. Doing it. There we go. If you're still watching, some an update here on the ostriches.
I'm going to give you guys the voluntary option to stay in here tonight, or you can leave tonight. That's number
nice.
one. Okay. If you do leave, you won't be allowed back in. Okay. Just so you know. Okay. And if you do try to come back in, or you have people try to.
Well, we wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You would be dealing.
Yeah, that's fair.
This has been, we've been very confused today. We're humble farmers. We don't understand this process, and this is we don't.
We appreciate it.
You love your animals, decades old with health, and I know, but listen, I know you always get short because you always have something to say too, but at the end of the day, you're in quarantine.
I have empathy. I understand what's going on. I need
Stop. Enough. More. Stop, please. Stop, please. We're not about this. We are a really respectful farm, and we're a humble. What would happen if you watched your mom fall to her knees for the 35 years of everything she's given to these animals? No, but don't. This is me. Please, please. I asked for some space. Can't even make that stuff up.
What do you want to talk to me I'm here to answer a question if you have one.
I'm looking at you from a human to a human. No, I'm looking at you from human to
understand
human.
that, but I have a job to do, and that's what I'm here to do today.
Okay, but I don't go.
And that's where I'm going to leave.
No,
okay?
I don't go to work though. If I knew I was doing the wrong thing, I wouldn't keep my job. If I knew I wasn't doing the right thing, I wouldn't keep my job.
Evil fuckers. You are all evil fuckers.
Yeah.
Every single one of you.
Just takes one of you to stand up for what's right.
All you have to do is stand up and do the right thing.
One. I've been through their property.
We just explained all of that, and the lawyers.
You don't know that you went through somebody else's property already?
They went through that. Katie,
once
Omar's on the phone. We are
see.
exercising the authority of the provincial court of
Oh, it's the provincial court of British Columbia. Are you excited about that? If it was your mom, you would do what I'm doing. If it was your mom,
are you coming back tomorrow?
you would do what I'm doing. If it was
Tomorrow,
your
the
mom,
next day? You're here all the time?
There will be a CFIA representative here all the time.
if it was your mom, you would do what I'm doing.
Okay? Does that answer everything, Dave?
No, but...
Does your lawyer have any questions for us before we leave?
They refuse to test the birds.
You got nothing, Omar?
Somebody.
They refuse
just
to
takes
test the
one.
birds.
Yeah.
They will
It
fine them
just takes one of you to
$20,000.
stand up for what's right.
All they have to do is stand up and say no. I guess not everybody's strong as those who are willing to do the right thing. When they hit us with the COVIDity stupidity in the Canadian Armed Forces, and they told us, if you don't take this experimental injection, we will fire you. So they fired a bunch of people. They released us all. 10% of us, we stood up for what was right. But obviously, these RCMP members, they don't care about what's right. Remember this. This RCMP Gestapo have no morals, no ethics, and they have no compunctions about doing what they're being told by political masters, political reasons, rather than for the society that they are supposed to be protecting. They're not protecting you. They're protecting their political masters. They are an embarrassment to Canada. Musical ride to hell. Well, karma's a bitch, boys. The evil you do now will come back and be visited upon you. It's just the way it is in the universe. Whatever you throw out is going to come back right back at you. And if you do good in the universe, you get it back fivefold. But if you do evil, I guess you're